Suppose I were to kill you for a thrill.
The different 007.
Chris, how are you doing tonight?
Hey, thank you so much, Brian, for having me on. I've been doing so many interviews myself. It feels so great to just sit down and relax and finally be the one being interviewed this time. And it's an honor being on your channel.
Well, I can't thank you enough, my friend, for taking time out of your night. And I know you had a busy day with school, so
Yep.
How about this? Let's jump straight to it. No worries. Straight raw cut. Tell us a little bit about that one Bond guy.
Well, I mean, first off, again, thank you. And I have all night, so however long you need it to be or whatever, I'm here. I love doing this and getting connected with everyone in the Bond community. But yeah, my story started off really with, it's kind of funny, the Kingsman franchise. I got into the movies and I saw them on the big screen, both of them, the first one and the second one, and I started collecting a lot of the props and a lot of the items. I actually have right here, my prescription glasses are actually the ones from the movie.
Yeah.
So I have these guys. These are the first big prop thing that I remember getting. I also have the one at like tortoiseshell. So this one's from Taron Egerton's character, and then the tortoiseshell ones are obviously from Colin Firth's character. And it just started there. And I even have a couple double-breasted suits that I made sure I had fitted really well. I have one from the movie, and then I have another one that I just got at my local suit store that I got tailored. But it's funny that all of that happened because my parents said, "Have you ever seen a Bond film?" Because The Kingsman is literally like a spin-off of the James Bond franchise. And I'm like, I mean, I've heard of James Bond. I kind of have an idea. He's a stereotypical super spy, British gentleman, all that. And at the time, I was all like, I want to stay with my Kingsman group because that's something that no one really knows about and has heard and all that. But I thought about it and I was like, you know what? Might as well. Let me check it out. And, it couldn't have come at a more perfect time because it was around junior into senior year of high school. A lot of my friends were leaving, going off to either the military or to out of state for college, and a lot of them were growing up to where we didn't really connect on certain things anymore, and you know how it goes. It was just that time. I guess all of us had to grow up, but that left me with a lot of free time and a lot of time to myself that I didn't have any idea what I wanted to do or anything, and I watched Dr. No because I believed in wanting to start from the beginning. I did my research and I made sure I, figured out, had a pretty much general idea of the character and the films and whatnot. And I saw that the movie started in 1962 with Dr. No, and that's when I went ahead and said, all right, I'll watch it. And I remember one night, I think it was before a school day too. I don't know why I did this to myself, but I stayed up till about 4 a.m. and I watched Dr. No. And let me tell you, it was one of the greatest experiences I've ever had. I remember watching it and I was like, oh my God, from the cars to the scenery to just the character of James Bond, Sean Connery, it felt so cool and it felt so right. And it felt like this is exactly my type of thing. And so from that point on, I watched one movie and then another one and another one and another one. And then once I was able to get the whole collection on Blu-ray, I rewatched it and I was like, wow, this is so cool. I could do the same thing I did with Kingsman with James Bond. And this would last me, there's 24 movies. It'll last me a very long time, right? And then I went on YouTube and that's how I discovered David Zaritsky and being James Bond, Joe Darlington, and all the Peter Brooker from Tailors with Love and all those cool guys, and I saw them doing videos, and whether it was just them having an experience with friends going to a location or filming a video about a prop or a piece of clothing, and I was like, I have a pretty decent sized collection and of things here and there. Maybe I should throw my hat in the ring and join this thing that they've been talking about called the Bond community. So, one thing happened, and then That one Bond guy was formed. Pretty
Yeah.
much that's the story of how it all happened.
Well, I told you the other day because I know people will probably know. I actually interviewed on your YouTube channel the other night, and I told you I think you honestly did the right thing because first off, you know, yeah, we've had, let's see, Spectre just came out 5 years ago, and then Kingsman is probably the best thing that we've had since probably Skyfall, I think personally. And especially, the title alone for Kingsman, it says on the box set, more badass than Bond.
Oh, there it is. Look at that.
So, I honestly think, and then you went straight to Doctor No, which aired in 1962. Of course, at that time, that was at the Cuban Missile Crisis, and it holds so true to current times because we're in a state where we don't know what's going to happen in the world.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
anyways, thank you for that little brief intro. And whoever's listening out there, for sure to check out that one Bond guy on Instagram and YouTube.
Thank you.
So, Chris, I know a lot of people would also want to know, who are some of your influences in the community?
You know, that's a great question. If it wasn't for going on YouTube and looking up just James Bond and seeing David Zaritsky name pop up, I wouldn't have made the account. If it wasn't for listening to some of his videos and then the name being James Bond pop up, I wouldn't be listening to some podcasts or different names like Peter Brooker from Tailors with Love or Harris Thomas from Dressing Like Bond. I wouldn't have realized how awesome and how immersive the Bond world is when it comes to clothing and style and the charisma of being like James Bond and the traveling and learning new aspects of the world. And I think it just because of all of those guys that I listed, and even some smaller accounts that have been up on Instagram for a while, whether they post stills from old like Roger Moore films of on the set or whatnot, I wouldn't have even thought about doing something like this or joining the community. So I owe it to them. But I owe it to all the Bond accounts out there that have been around for a while because it takes. I know there's talk about once the movie ends, that all the other accounts that that are just doing it for clout or for hype are eventually going to go off. But for the accounts that have been around for a while and being able to talk about James Bond more than just the super spy, they can dive deeper into certain meanings or one day if it's about clothing and they talk about a suit or a location or events, I know one super exciting coming up is going to be the Skyfall concert in Toronto. Things like that I never knew existed, and I love music. I love clothing. I love dressing up and all that. So again, it's because of all of those accounts that really influenced me to start one up and throw my hat into the ring.
No, and I absolutely agree. I'm gonna go with, and I will tell you this now. I remember tuning into David Zaritsky's channel when he first started, and he was doing the Frugal Bond at that point. And I look at it to this day, it's like David looks so young, and now he's been doing this for several years. He's salt and peppered in the hair, and he's thinner. But don't shoot me, David. I know you're probably gonna take a look at this, but don't shoot me on that. And then, of course, Joe Darlington, I've been listening to his podcast for years. Harris Thomas just broke out not too long ago, but he's a big hit. Peter Brooker, Calvin Dyson, the list goes on. So it's quite a special thing, which leads to my next question. Why do you think this community is so special?
Because I think we've all been through something in our lives that relates to James Bond, whether it's love and loss or being able to travel to a place that we never would have thought of, or getting a brand new suit for the first time. We all have something that we can relate to on an emotional level, and being together with people that understand that, it makes it more than just friends. It makes it like a family, which this whole thing is worldwide, but everyone for the most part that I've met and been able to have the privilege to do an interview with, including yourself, I think they have been so caring and so open and so nice, and I'm so thankful for all the moments that I've had already, and I'm excited for the moments that I'm going to have in the future. And um, I just think just like that, just that is the main reason why this community is a tight one.
I think you answered that pretty well, my friend. Uh, yeah, I agree with you. It's such a small community, but it's so big and it's so family-like. And yeah, we've all experienced that love and loss like Bond has, or it's a special location that Bond has gone to, or something like that. I absolutely agree with you. Which we'll get to that question in a little bit. That has to kind of
add one little thing. Sorry, but
yeah.
um, everything about the community is so cool. And one of the main, another part of it is the fact that you never know who's going to pop up the next day. Like, for example, I was doing this, and then all of a sudden, you and I started getting in contact, and I had no idea you were on my side of the earth, And it felt really cool because for a second, I was talking to Carmen and James Bond from Montreal with Love, and he's my age, yes, but he's all the way in Montreal, and I mean the time difference kind of conflicts a little bit, but I mean we're still able to talk and whatnot. But having somebody that I never knew existed until a couple weeks ago, and knowing that we're on the same side of the earth is great, because now we can form our own things on this side, on this side of the states, and we can have our events if we want to, or meet up and go places. And that's one of the greatest things about the Bond community, is that you never know who you're going to meet. And again, for the most part, everyone is really cool and really open to meeting new people. That's one of the greatest things as well.
Absolutely. And I can't believe, I know there's Bond fans out there everywhere, but the fact that we finally came across each other, I can't be more thankful. So I appreciate it. And I know you're one of the youngest, but you know what? I get along with everybody. So even though I do have a sarcastic demeanor sometimes, and some people are probably like, ugh, why does he have to be so sarcastic, or is he being serious or whatnot? So I'm here to have fun, but at the same time, I'm enjoying this. I'm here to have fun, make new friends, and hopefully come across, some of the bigger people like Jay Sadowski, David Zaritsky, Joe Darlington, the list goes on. So, anyways, what are some of your top 3 James Bond films and least?
Okay, so Goldfinger has to be my number 1, because I think I don't want to say it's the most stereotypical answer, but because I watched them in order, I can honestly say that's my favorite, not only my favorite Bond film, but my favorite Connery film. Just because I felt like it was at the pinnacle of his performance, and just seeing him drive the Aston for the first time, seeing the gadgets for the first time, the storyline was really great. And I had friends the other day, never watched a Bond film at all. I introduced them to Casino Royale first a while ago. They loved it. They enjoyed it, and they've been talking about it for a couple weeks after that. Then I had them over again, and I showed them Goldfinger. And I was a little worried at first because it was a little bit older. It's an older film. They might have been getting bored or whatnot, go on their phones. But they were engaged literally from start to finish. They were laughing at the point when they saw Goldfinger get sucked out of the plane. They had a blast. And I think that just goes to show you that Goldfinger was such a well-made film that even people who have no idea about Bond or watched Bond can really thoroughly enjoy it as a film. So definitely Goldfinger is my number one. And number two has to be, I'm going to have to go with Pierce Brosnan's The World Is Not Enough. And then my number three, Skyfall with Daniel Craig. But that's really hard too because, I love all the films obviously, but for my top three and the ones that have the most fingerprints per se are going to be definitely those. And then just to throw out there some films that I enjoy that a lot of people I've been hearing don't particularly like, but I love License to Kill. License to Kill was, I think, it was my favorite one out of Timothy Dalton's, just because I personally really liked the theme song. That was really cool. And then also, Tomorrow Never Dies is probably my second favorite Pierce movie. And just the other ones, but definitely those are my top three. But for my least favorites, right? You said least favorites.
That is correct.
Okay.
Or least watch, whatever you feel comfortable.
I hope I don't get a bunch of trash for this, but I haven't watched On Her Majesty's Secret Service a lot, and I guess it's because I watched them all in order and just kind of not knowing what was to come, and I was still all new when I watched them all in order for the first time. I love George. I think he did a really good job in trying to fill Sean Connery's shoes. But at that moment, after being used to Sean Connery, I think we were kind of spoiled a little bit, and it had a feeling that it just didn't feel right. It felt strange for a quick second because first three movies we had Sean Connery, and then, first four movies we had Sean Connery, and then all of a sudden we had this new guy, and then the next one is Sean Connery again. It just felt at the moment out of place, and I have a feeling at the time it's probably people were thinking the same. But I haven't seen On Her Majesty's a lot, but I want to watch it again because I've been hearing different podcasts and seeing different viewpoints of it. And now that I think about it, it deserves a second chance, at least on my part, to be watched again and again. I mean, I'll definitely watch them all again as many times. I won't even know how many times I'll be able to watch them, but that one again, we're doing basically the last one I'm going to say is my worst, like absolute worst. So Majesty is third place. Second place, I'll have to go with Diamonds Are Forever, just because yes, they brought Connery back, but it just didn't feel right. I mean, okay, and then, cause are you talking about just Eon produced, or are you talking about all of them? Because I can say one that I know for a fact everyone's gonna agree on, and that's Never Say Never Again. But if we're just doing Eon,
yeah, well, if you want to add Never Say Never Again, I will allow it.
okay.
But if you want to know something funny, I know you asked me about the picture behind me.
Right.
My friend is a Bond fan as well, and he actually says he likes Never Say Never Again over Thunderball.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. Interesting.
Just because of Kim Basinger.
Mm.
And I'm like, are you serious, dude? Really? I give him a hard time about it all the time.
That's an interesting viewpoint, But Bond fans have all their rights to have their own opinions. So, who am I to judge? But
Absolutely.
And then my last one, we'll just do tied for first place would be
okay.
Never Say Never Again and Quantum.
Yeah. And we all know why a lot of people don't like Quantum, so we're not going to have to really explain on that. So
It was kind of a rushed job, just to sum it up.
the one thing I would love to see, though, with Quantum, though, and hopefully in the near future, it will drop the original ending in the deleted scenes where Bond actually tracks down Mr. White and Guy Haynes and such. I would love to see that scene, and I know a bunch of Bond fans out there would as well. So moving on. What locations are on your list to see? I know you are getting ready to study abroad in London, and you've already been to London, let alone. And you've been to San Francisco, being in Sacramento, California.
Yep.
Where would you want to see on your list? Give me some of your ideal locations that you would want to visit.
So definitely, because I did go to London, like you said, but that was literally overnight. It was like one day. So I did not get anywhere near to seeing everything I wanted to see. So obviously London's going to be number one, but I want to be able to have a very thorough, in-depth, just kind of like the Harris Thomas type of taking a picture exactly right where, you see Bond walking or standing or whatnot. And, I want to check out, definitely I want to go to, Italy, where they had the Spectre scenes, just because I think that city was very pretty. And then where else? Just because I've heard great things and I want to be a part of the experience. And Joe Darlington did a very great podcast and video of this whole thing, and that's at His Gloria in Switzerland when they had that whole setup for On Her Majesty's Secret Service. I don't know if they'll have that whole same setup again, but just to be in that area would be really cool. And not only that, but it kind of has a double meaning for me because I believe there's been, I think Kingsman was also in Switzerland. I think if it was the second one or the first one.
It was the second.
The second one, yeah. So it would be a double whammy for me, which would be kind of cool.
Absolutely.
And then I'd love to go to Las Vegas and check out, From Diamonds Are Forever, all of that. And then more of the tropical areas, of course, all the different places that he went to with the beach, because I feel like that'd be really fun.
Yeah, I hear you there. I would really love to go see Schlitthorn and Piz Gloria and the Portugal. I've been to Vegas so many times. It gets old after a while, but at the same time, I still enjoy it to this day. Laughing Waters in Jamaica, to see Dr. No, of course, where Ursula Andress walks out of the water with the bikini. The list goes on for me, and I bet it would as well for you. So
this is just to name a few that I love to go see. I definitely want to check out more of the tropical areas, just because I want to. There's like with Thunderball, all the locations there, are so tropical and so, I love being in a place where there's beaches and water just to swim and snorkel and just do the whole Bond. Because snorkeling and diving is a whole Bond thing too. Being able to do that somewhere really pretty is pretty cool. And a lot of people I know. I'm not sure if you heard of him, but I think his username is Fleming Never Dies. He does.
Yeah, actually, I just stumbled upon his channel because he followed my personal page first.
Yep.
And then he started following my, of course, James Bond Aficionado. And I've been looking at his Instagram for a while now, for a few days, I should say. And I really like his content.
Yeah, and I wasn't too keen on the idea of going to, Shanghai or where they did the Skyfall casino filming, just because of the fact that I know first off, it's an extremely long flight. And second off, it's very busy, it's very crowded. But because of him, and this kind of goes back to the Bond community thing, because of him, he's completely changed my view. I would love to go check out Shanghai and check out all the places over there in Asia and see, because Asia and all the countries over there were huge in James Bond and in numerous amount of films and whatnot. And how can you not go visit someplace over there? Because it's part of the Bond story.
Oh, absolutely. And Phuket alone, and from The Man with the Golden Gun, they have a sign that says the James Bond Island.
Oh yeah.
So Macau would be on my list as well, even though, like you said, yeah, it's a long flight from our side of the woods.
One last place that I just remembered, where they filmed The Man with the Golden Gun, the island.
Yes, that's Phuket.
Yeah, that's what I was, when you said that, I was like, yeah, that's definitely on top of my list too.
Oh yeah, that mushroom-shaped rock.
Right, yeah.
So, let's go to our next question. Now, what direction do you want to see Eon go after Daniel Craig departs, and who would you like to see fill his shoulder holster?
I personally would love to see someone. I want to make sure that, I know everyone's talking about, Bond should be Jane Bond and whatnot, and everyone's saying like it's the Me Too period, all that. I'm not trying to get too political, but I think Barbara commented on that. She said something about, which I thought was really well said. And she said, James Bond is always going to be James Bond. And I'm paraphrasing here, so don't quote me. It's not exact, but James Bond will always be James Bond, but Bond will and is always going to have strong female characters that portray females in, a strong light. That's something I think if they continue to do that and do more characters like Lashana Lynch and like for No Time to Die, I think a lot of the people that have the stereotype of James Bond films are just misogynistic and all that kind of stuff. I think that will show them that James Bond 2 is becoming more modern and more 2020, whatever you want to say. But I mean, I don't think we need to change what has already been established as James Bond. And I think it would be pretty cool, personally, to do, this is what I love to see. And I could say this for the Kingsman thing, too. I think it'd be pretty cool to see James Bond. Could dedicate a whole movie to having James Bond have a trainee or somebody that he trains. I know he's all used to, and we're all used to seeing him work alone, but I think it'd be pretty cool. And this is I've been theorizing about this on my own because I have no idea what people would think, but I think it would be pretty cool to have a story, kind of like Kingsman, but like have him have a connection with somebody that's new and that they brought up, and him teaching them the ways that he learns, his instinct, his way around things, and throw bits of humor in there. It doesn't have to be extremely serious as the last few Bond films have been, but throw in somebody that the viewers will obviously be attracted to being possibly the next Bond, and at the end of the film he will roll over and be the new 007. Who knows? I don't know, but that's just me. I think that'd be kind of cool. Or have a story of James Bond and having a trainee, and then the trainee just end up being, I don't know, turning bad and being working on the inside. That would be something. Imagine that, having a story where Bond has a trainee and you see him from the beginning, and then at the very end he's actually the head of some evil organization, something like that. That'd be interesting. I don't know, just throwing ideas out there, I guess.
So who would you want to see casted?
Shoot, casted. Love to see Taron Egerton again, but I think he's stuck with Kingsman, so he can't really jump to that because I feel like there would be a conflict there. But why not throw the guy from Venom? I forget his name.
Tom Hardy?
Yeah, why not throw him in there? I think he would make a pretty a funny Bond or someone that people could relate to. I played around with the idea of possibly, I don't know, I forget his name, but he was rumored to be possibly the next Bond. Shoot, the name, it's late. I don't have it in my mind. Sorry, but yeah, I don't know. I think Eon. One thing I definitely don't want to see is them selling it to somebody like Disney or something, because I think that would just we see what Disney have done to some of the franchise that they have, and Disney obviously is a successful corporation company, but I think James Bond deserves to stay. That franchise deserves to stay as James Bond. And I mean, if it does get to a point where Disney grabs it, I just hope and pray they don't make it too Disney and less James Bond, you know. Although it would be pretty sick if they had the whole theme park or a whole part of Disneyland dedicated to James Bond. That would be pretty sick. But as we were discussing earlier, like Star Wars Land or whatever you call it, they charge an arm and a leg just to get in there. So I wouldn't imagine how much they would charge for people to come into James Bond Land. So.
Oh, absolutely, and and you and I both know my opinion on that as well. I don't want to see it go to Disney. Right. I want to see it sticking with Universal from here on out and United Artists. And I know, like I said, Annapurna filed for bankruptcy, but will Bond be able to bury them out? So who knows where it's going to go after this. I know today that Netflix and Apple were talking with MGM, so we'll see.
Interesting. Yeah, we'll just wait and see. I mean,
so continue. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, I guess we won't know until it happens. We have that to look forward to. More drama, right?
Exactly, and there has been enough drama, let alone leading up to the beginning of No Time to Die with. So, before we wrap things up, I'm going to ask you a few rapid fire questions, if you don't mind me asking.
Of course, bring it on.
What car from the Bond series would you want as your personal driver, since I know you're a car guy?
Personal driver, so that means, okay. Definitely the DB10.
Okay. I personally want the DB9.
Mm-hmm.
I love the fact that it is a convertible, and if I need to during the summer, take off the top.
That is true. I agree with that. The convertibles are really nice, and I know they're more expensive, but they're worth it because you get to drop the top down and then drive it under really good weather. I like the DB10 because it's rare. You don't see it. It was made just for Spectre, so you're driving around in a car that no one else has. So,
favorite Bond girl?
Oh, I'll be honest with you. I think the girl, the Barbara Bach, right, from The Spy Who Loved Me, absolutely gorgeous. And then, believe it or not, I forget her name, but from The World Is Not Enough, not Electra King.
Oh, Sophie.
Yes, she's really pretty, I believe. She's those two. But if I had to pick, definitely Barbara Bach.
Okay. Favorite villain or henchman?
Ooh, henchman, Odd Job. Just because he's hilarious. He has no words besides a few moans and groans here and there, and then that smile kills me whenever he does the little smirk. And then, I'd have to go with Scaramanga.
Okay. I was gonna say Chris Lee, let alone, he's such a iconic figure, since he was Ian Fleming's distant cousin.
Mm-hmm.
But Scaramanga left a mark on the franchise, even though it didn't do so well.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was one of the better Bond villains, despite how bad the film did. So,
I enjoyed his character.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, I did too. So, what Bond movie would you want to be casted in if you were James Bond?
Oh, I gotta go Goldfinger. The DB5, driving that baby all around with all the gadgets. I gotta do it.
Let's see if I can find my next question. Actually, I can't, unfortunately. So, Chris, thank you again for chatting with me. It was a real honor. If you want to drop a follow and like for Chris on Instagram, he also has a YouTube page. Feel free to check him out at ThatoneBondguy. There it is. I just found it right now as we speak.
There we go.
So what is the future of ThatoneBondguy? Are you going to take it to any more platforms than just Instagram and YouTube?
I've played around with the idea of Facebook just because I know there's a lot of features with it. But for right now, I think I'm going to focus on Instagram and YouTube. I really enjoy doing my series that One Bond Guy Meets, just only because I love meeting the community members, getting close with them, and just doing things here and there. I just filmed an unboxing video of some fun, cool things I got off Amazon, and whether it's another video about clothing or something, I think sticking to YouTube and Instagram are the main things for me right now. But yeah, like I said in a couple of my previous interviews, I'm still trying to find my niche, my thing. That makes me stand out. So staying with those two platforms for now definitely is going to make things easier until I find that one thing. But until then, I'm just having fun because at the end of the day, I love talking to you guys and meeting people and doing anything Bond related. And those two platforms are for me the easiest to display that affection and joy in the Bond community and throwing like I said, throwing my stuff into the ring.
Well, once again, thank you, Chris, for being on tonight.
Thank you so much. I appreciate everything. I love the content that you have, and good job and keep it up. I thoroughly enjoy it.
Well, that makes me very humble hearing that. So thank you. For James Bond Aficionado, this is Brian Levex signing off, and drop me a like and subscribe to my content. Thank you very much. Have a good night, everybody.
See you, everybody.